What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And when talking about basketball, everyone always wants to know who is the best and the absolute number one at what they do. So today, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at the best player in the NBA at each different category. And this ranges from scoring to defense to intangibles like leadership and IQ, and just covers a bunch of different things to show you guys who is the best in each category. So I don't want to waste much time, so let's get into the video. First up, we have scoring, and the best scorer in the NBA in my opinion is Kevin Durant. Now KD for his career, he averages 27 points per game, that is 4th all time. When it comes to playoffs, he averages 29 a game, that is also 4th all time. And in the NBA Finals, he averages 30 points per game, again 4th all time. And I think it goes without saying that Kevin Durant is one of the most unique scorers in NBA history. He's almost 7 foot tall, has a huge wingspan, and can pull up from 30 feet, and he can score effectively at all 3 levels, from the 3-point line, the mid-range, the post, and he's great at finishing around the basket. And I think those abilities, combined with KD's physical attributes, makes him the best scorer in the NBA. Now moving on to passing, we have one of Kevin Durant's big rivals, and that is LeBron James. And throughout LeBron's career, everyone's always known as a great passer, but during the 2020 season, for the first time in his career, he actually led the NBA in assists. And this year in 2021, his numbers are slightly down, but LeBron, in my opinion, despite that, is still the best passer in the NBA. He's amazing at reading the defenses. He can make no-look passes, behind-the-back passes, bounce passes, full-court passes, lob passes. Any pass you want, LeBron James, he most likely can do it. And I think that passing versatility, that separates LeBron James from a lot of the other great passers in the NBA. Now moving on, our next category is rebounding. And the best rebounder in the NBA is Andre Drummond, as he's led the NBA in rebounding 5 times in his career, including 4 in the last 5 years. And he's just a great player on the boards with great timing, and really rebounding is one of his few skills that he excels at. And he's not a great offensive player, and so he'll give you 15 points per game, but it's mainly on layups and dunks. But rebounding is one of the things Andre Drummond has thrived at throughout his career, and actually he's a very good offensive rebounder, averaging just under 5 a game. And at 6'10", 280, Andre Drummond is the perfect rebounding machine. So next up we have shooting, and this category I think should be unanimous. The best shooter in the NBA and the best shooter of all time, it is obviously Steph Curry. And I don't think I need to provide any stats for this. I think it's just a common known fact that Steph, he is the greatest shooter of all time. He's made the most threes in a season. He's currently 2nd all time in 3-pointers made, and he's only going to keep rising higher. He changed the game with a 3-point shot, and he's really opened up the offense for all 30 teams in the NBA. And I really cannot say much more about Steph. If you know basketball, you know Steph Curry, he's the best shooter. I don't need any stats or anything else to back that up. Now, something I will provide stats for is our next category, and that is efficiency. And for this category, once again, I have Steph Curry. And Steph, for his career, when it comes to the regular season, he shoots 47% from the field. He has an effective field goal percentage of 58.1. His true shooting percentage is 62.3. His free throw percentage is 90.6. And his 3-point percentage is 43.5. And if you compare that to a guy like Kevin Durant, who in many regards the most efficient player, you can see that Steph Curry blows KD out of the water. And the same thing can be said for Curry's efficiency when it comes to the playoffs, as once again, he leads KD in effective field goal percentage, true shooting percentage, free throw percentage, as well as 3-point percentage. And Steph, he really is the king of the 50-40-90 club. He has the most games in NBA history, having 50-40-90 splits, more than Larry Bird, more than Dirk, and once again, more than Kevin Durant. And when it comes to high volume efficiency and seasons above 25 points per game, Steph, KD, and Larry Bird are the only players to have 50-40-90 splits during those years, and Steph has the highest true shooting percentage out of those 3 players. And throughout NBA history, if you look at seasons where a player scored 25 points per game or more, and you rank them by the highest true shooting percentage, Steph Curry is 1st and 2nd on this list, and you have Charles Barkley in 3rd place and Adrian Dantley in 4th place. So I think all that would lead me to say that Steph Curry is the most efficient scorer in the NBA today. Now moving on, we have athleticism, and the most athletic player in the NBA, I would say, is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And for this category, there's a lot of players to choose from, but Giannis, he's a special type of athlete, as he's nearly 7 foot tall, has a 7 foot wingspan, and he's an athletic freak. And I think where Giannis' athleticism shows the most is in transition, and when he's going downhill and finishing at the basket, he can dunk on you, over you, and even through you, and he's one of the best finishers in the NBA, and that's primarily due to his athletic ability and his raw physical skills. And not even talking about just today's players, in NBA history, I don't think we've seen an athlete quite like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, next up, we have ball handling, and the player with the best handles in the NBA, I think, is Kyrie Irving. And you can argue guys like Steph Curry or even Chris Paul, but Kyrie, in my opinion, he's on a whole nother tier and a whole nother plane, as the moves he has are just some things that you haven't ever seen, and he's one of the best players at improvising the fly. He has behind the backs, between the legs, he can hesitate, he can spin, he can do anything with the basketball, and when defenders are guarding Kyrie, you really cannot do anything, just stare at his chest, try to stay in front of him, but Kyrie is so quick, so crafty, he's going to get by you and he's going to finish, and he's going to do that with his amazing ball handling ability. And next up, we have dunking. And for dunking, a lot of players in the league are great high flyers, but the player, in my opinion, who is the best dunker to me is Zach LaVine. As for this category, I like to combine how players perform in the contest as well as in games. And I think Zach LaVine in games, he's an underrated dunker, as he's very similar to someone like Michael Jordan. He floats and he glides in the air, and he can dunk from anywhere and everywhere in the paint. And the second time Zach LaVine was in the dunk contest, when he battled with Aaron Gordon, that was quite possibly the greatest dunk contest duel of all time, and it's up there with some of the greatest contests in NBA history. So I think if you combine in-game as well as dunk contest dunks, Zach LaVine, he is the best dunker in the NBA. Now, next up, we have leadership, and the best leader in the NBA is Chris Paul. And I think Chris Paul, what he did for Oklahoma City, and young guys like SGA, Lou Dort, Darius Bazley, and some of the other great young pieces, what he did for those guys, he gave them so much confidence, he gave them belief, and he had them playing some of the best basketball in their careers. And if you listen to interviews of SGA talking about Chris Paul and how he mentored him and how he taught him a lot of the secrets of being a great point guard, you realize that Chris Paul, he is one of the best leaders and the best mentors in the NBA. And even in 2021, we've seen Chris Paul's impact and leadership already being shown in the Phoenix Suns, as they're in the playoff hunt for the first time in a long time, and it looks like finally Devin Booker is going to make a playoff appearance, in large part due to Chris Paul and his veteran leadership. Now, moving on, our next category is another intangible, and that is basketball IQ. And I think for this category, you could say a lot of players have the highest basketball IQ. I think Chris Paul is one of those guys, but for this category, I'm going with LeBron James. And LeBron, when it comes to NBA history, he no doubt has one of the highest basketball IQs of all time, and in his later years, he's only expanded and grew his basketball mind. And I think what separates LeBron James from a lot of the other smart players is that when it comes to the late game, clutch time situations, LeBron always seems to make the best basketball play and the high basketball IQ play. And this kind of goes hand in hand with passing, but LeBron's ability to read the defense and understand what teams are doing before they even do it, that is something that very few players can do, and that's why I say LeBron has the highest basketball IQ in the NBA. Now moving on to the best clutch time player, and for this category, I also have LeBron James. And that pick may be a little controversial, but I think LeBron's body of work overall and how he performs today, I think that makes him the most clutch player in the league when it comes to Game 7's elimination games, the big time moments. LeBron always seems to show up. I know he had a couple of bad series early in his career with the Heat as well as the Cavs, but now in 2021, LeBron, he's a different player, he's more poised, and he's been there before, and he knows what to do in the clutch time situations. And that's why I say LeBron James, overall, he's the most clutch player in the NBA. Now, moving on to the next category, we have defense. And for this category, I have LeBron's teammate, Anthony Davis. And if you watch basketball, you know how impactful AD is on the defensive end, and his length and his ability to switch screens and be super versatile and block shots. That makes him the best defender in the NBA. And if you watch the Lakers during the 2020 playoffs, he was guarding guys like James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jokic. He was super versatile, and for those series, he really swung a couple of those games with his defensive presence. And I think that's one of the unsung things about that Lakers team is how good Anthony Davis was. And you don't need any defensive stats or any defensive metrics to understand how valuable AD is on the defensive end. The only question with AD is he locked in and is he focused? And when it comes to the playoffs, Anthony Davis is 100% locked in on being a great defender. That's why I say he is the best defender in the NBA. Now, next up, we have mentality. And the player with the best mentality is Jimmy Butler. And throughout Jimmy's career, he's been fearless and he's never backed down from a challenge. And a lot of NBA fans, they admire that in Jimmy Butler. As some players in today's league, they are classified as soft, but Jimmy Butler is not one of those players. And if you watch the Heat during the 2020 playoffs, their whole team took on the Jimmy Butler mentality. They weren't afraid of anyone, they didn't back down from the challenge, and they were fearless when it came to the clutch time moments. And having a great mentality is important for so many reasons. Do you step up for your team in the big time moments, or do you back down and defer? Jimmy Butler is definitely the first option. He steps up in the big time moments, and he takes charge, and he takes leadership. And that is one of the things I love about Jimmy Butler, and in my opinion, that gives Jimmy Butler the best mentality in the entire NBA. Now, for our last category, we have influence. And influence, you can define a couple of ways. How influential you are on the court, how influential you are off the court. But for me personally in this video, I'm strictly focusing on the court influence. And there's no player in NBA history who is more influential on the court than Steph Curry. And Steph, like I showed in this video, he is the best shooter in NBA history, and what he did in 2015-2016 with a three-point shot, he revolutionized the game, and he showed teams and GMs that you can win championships by shooting threes and shooting a lot of threes. And from 2015 to 2021, that era I would classify as the three-point revolution and kind of the Steph Curry era, not as the best player, but in terms of influence. Steph's influence is unmatched by any player who precedes him or any player who will probably come after him. So that was my last category for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and of course, I can't highlight every single aspect of basketball, but I tried my best to encompass the overall game on the court, off the court, intangibles, and things that you can measure by stats. So once again, I hope you guys like this video. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.